today. Sorry about that. Everyone's just been liking these so much, I figured I'd drop more. Also got a request from my man Joey Pugh to do a full PPR draft, so that's what we're doing today. If you didn't see me talk about different league makeups in my last video, go back and watch that. This is obviously another example of we're doing a full PPR draft, which is different than what I have been doing with half PPR. So it makes those pass catchers a little bit more valuable because you're getting a full point per reception instead of a half point per reception, obviously. But going back to my standard format of 1 quarterback, 2 running back, 2 wide receiver, 1 tight end, and 2 flexes. Again, in a 10-team league. Like I said, I'm doing this from a request. So if you guys have any other requests, I'm all for it. I can do whatever. I'm here to try and help you guys. So let me know. Make sure to drop a like on this video. It helps out a ton. Subscribe if you haven't yet, and let's get it going. All right, so I'm going from the 7 spot today. Haven't done that one yet. We're going to go through them all eventually. Not much changing here with the PPR. Still definitely taking Dalvin Cook here. I understand there's probably a little bit more intrigue in PPR with Najee, but I still definitely have Dalvin ahead of him. So pretty easy going to take him here. All right, we see Travis Kelce go. Mark Andrews still on the board. This is still too early for me for Mark Andrews. Would have loved Stephon if he was still there, but obviously he's not. So CeeDee Lamb would be my next wide receiver. But at this point, I still think I'm going to take a running back. I think DeAndre Swift is kind of in his own tier. I guess now with it sounding like Kamara is not going to get suspended this year, he's going to be up near DeAndre Swift, and I could definitely understand if you want to take him ahead. Since there's still some uncertainty about it, I'm going to have Swift ranked ahead of him, and in PPR format, that also makes Swift more valuable. I mean, not more than Kamara, because that's kind of Kamara's thing, except for last year where he actually had the least amount of receiving work. So it's kind of hard to know exactly what's going to be going on. Obviously, Kamara will still be the lead back there, and Swift has a little bit more competition. But given the uncertainty, I'm going to take Swift, get my 2 running backs right here. I have pretty crazy upside with Dalvin Cook and DeAndre Swift as my 2 running backs. And someone like Nick Chubb, who doesn't really get a lot of receiving work, that's somebody who you would rank lower in these type of leagues. I guess there's the Kareem Hunt trade pending. So if he gets traded, then obviously Nick Chubb's receiving work is going to go up a ton, and he would shoot up the draft boards a ton. But I'm not sure if that's actually going to happen this year. And now we see the 3 tight ends go. So obviously not going to take any of them here. Definitely not taking a quarterback. We see Javonte as probably my clear running back here. He has insane upside. And if he can take over as a workhorse in Denver, then he can easily be an RB1 and finish super high. I mean, if Melvin Gordon didn't resign there, he would probably be ranked as a top 5 RB. And he also checks a bunch of those boxes of being young enough and having the rookie year production where he can really be a stud this year. So I've been growing on him, and I love where he's going in draft. We can get him as your 3rd running back. I also think Debo's an absolutely great pick here in the mid to late 3rd round. That's an absolute steal on him. I guess in a PPR league, he might be even ranked a little bit lower since a lot of his work comes from rushing, and he's not like a reception king. Somebody like Keenan Allen is really interesting because he gets so many receptions every year, although Debo definitely has a higher upside just because of what he showed he can do last year. And if he's utilized in the same way, then he's going to be an absolute stud for you. We're going to take Javonte here because I really like the wide receivers that fall later in the draft, and getting these 3 running backs locked up just makes me feel great about it, and I could easily have 3 RB1s, which is a massive advantage. Yeah, playing someone like Javonte Williams in your flex is just insane. And now I don't have to look at running backs for a while. And look at Keenan Allen is still on the board. He's going to be an absolute monster in PPR. He's on one of the best offenses with Justin Herbert. He gets a ton of targets and a ton of receptions. So somebody I actually love, and getting Javonte Williams there, I mean, loving this start right now. Like I said, nobody in the running back I'm going to be taking. Not taking a quarterback here. Top 5 tight ends, in my opinion, are gone. I like Dalton Schultz. This is just too early for me. So if you look at the wide receivers, I actually have Mike Williams ranked the highest here, but because I have Keenan Allen, it's not a stack that I want to do with doubling up on the wide receivers, no matter how good the offense is. I mean, obviously, there's certain times where if he falls to me at a great value, then I'll take him, but there's other great wide receivers on the board here that I would rather take over him. So for me, it would be between Courtland Sutton and Deontay Johnson. I think Deontay Johnson gets a little bit of a bump since he's in a full PPR league, and he's known for getting a ton of targets and receptions, although he does have a lot of target competition, and George Pickens looks like a stud and not going to have Big Ben. He's definitely lower. I mean, but that's why he's getting drafted in the end of the 5th round. And I also have Javonte Williams. And I'm not a huge fan of stacking running back wide receiver. And while it won't deter me from taking a player, if it can be the tiebreaker, then that will help me out a lot of times. So I'm going to take Deontay Johnson here as my wide receiver too. If one of these Courtland Suttons or Mike Williams is still on the board at the next pick, then I would definitely could be interested in taking there because I think that's a good value. You don't want to look too far ahead of the picks. You want to kind of imagine what the best case scenario for this this pick would be and then focus on the next one when it gets there. And that's exactly why, because Michael and Cortland Sutton both get taken. But no problem, because I said that is very likely to happen. I think the next highest person I have ranked is Allen Robinson. I have Allen Robinson. Yeah, I have him ranked the next highest. Marquise Brown right behind him. So I am super interested in either of them. If you haven't really been paying attention a lot to fantasy this year so far, you might be wondering why Allen Robinson is ranked highly, because he was terrible last year. But I mean, obviously he's on the Rams now. There's no Robert Woods. Doesn't seem like Odell Beckham is going to be playing there. And if he does, it won't be until like the end of the season. So he's going to be the clear wide receiver 2 and the second option there. And if you also look at Matt Harmon's reception perception, I'm not sure if people have access to that or if you guys have really looked into it, but you can kind of see how good these wide receivers were at breaking different type of coverages, and Allen Robinson can still beat man coverage. And being in an offense with the Rams and Matthew Stafford and having someone like Cooper Kupp take attention away from him, I think he's going to be a really good, valuable fantasy asset. And so when you can get him as your flex position, I absolutely love that. So I'm going to take Allen Robinson right here. But I totally understand if you want to take Marquise Brown. He's a great option too, going to be the wide receiver 1 for his team, which is on a great offense. And he'll still obviously be super valuable and a part of the offense once DeAndre Hopkins comes back. But getting those first 6-week advantage, it can be really nice and set your team up great. So we're still kind of in that RB dead zone area. There's definitely some interests, like some scenarios where you can see these guys working out, but because I went so early with these great running backs, I just don't really need any of these guys, and I'm not super interested in a lot of them, so I can just keep stacking and focusing on my wide receivers. Definitely been growing on Juju. I think everyone has this offseason. There's a ton of reasons why. I think it's pretty clear. Tyreek Hill leaving Kansas City. He's there now. Could be the second option behind Travis Kelce. I mean, probably will be. But we've seen the ball spread out there a lot, and we don't know exactly the roles everyone's going to have. So the upside is definitely there. But I actually have Darnell Mooney ranked the highest out of here. We saw him actually, if you paid attention, he was really good last year at the end of the year. I was actually really in on him last offseason, and he was not very productive the first half. I don't know the exact weeks, but wasn't very good for the beginning of the year. Dropped him a lot of my leagues, and he absolutely balled out at the end of the year. And I think it's very likely for him to continue that. They really didn't add anybody in the wide receiving core. And so I think he's going to be one of the most targeted people in the NFL this year. And getting him where he's going in drafts, I've been absolutely loving it. I found him on a bunch of my teams. So I'm going to take him here. Big fan of getting that. And, someone on your bench, you don't even have to rely on him, who I do think has a lot of upside. I absolutely love that. A similar person with a lot of upside who I like a lot this year is Gabe Davis. Different than Mooney because he's obviously not going to be the wide receiver 1 behind Stephon Diggs, so that's not happening, but he's part of one of the best offenses in the NFL. And we saw weeks last year where he went absolutely nuclear, scored 4 touchdowns. I mean, you've seen the talent there, and there's a very likely chance of him breaking out. He's one of everyone's favorite breakout candidates this year. No surprise that he's, not going high in drafts, but he's being, drafted at a position where, people really like him. And I love him right here. Getting him as my wide receiver 5, sign me up for that every single day. I'm really really liking this team so far, honestly. Dalvin Cook, DeAndre Swift, Keenan Allen, Deontay Johnson, Javonte Williams, Allen Robinson, Darnell Mooney, Gabe Davis. Normally I'm not the biggest fan of Deontay as my wide receiver 2, but I think in the full PPR league, it definitely helps. And with how much other depth and skill we've gotten at the wide receiver position and the upside that is there, I feel great about it now. And another person who I've really been growing on right here is Elijah Moore, and really growing on them in the fact that where they're going in drafts, I think is absolutely great value for them. Second-year player, played with A.J. Brown and DK Metcalf in college. A.J. said he's better than him. Obviously, that's not true, but we saw last year where he was an absolute stud for about a 5 to 6 week stretch until he got hurt and then didn't play the rest of the year. Now, there was Zach Wilson, and we don't know how that's going to go, and a lot of his production was actually not with Zach Wilson, but by the time Wilson came back last year, Moore was already hurt, so we didn't really get to see much of what was going to happen there. And they drafted Garrett Wilson in the top 10 this year, so there's obviously things going against him. But again, where he's going in drafts, absolutely love him. And we're just stacking the wide receiver position right now, so sign me up for Elijah Moore. All right, so we went super wide receiver heavy. I just loved all of these guys too much. And it's another big reason why I've been going pretty running back heavy early in the drafts is that these wide receivers that you can get in these rounds 4 through 9 are just absolute studs. And I think that, obviously not all of them are going to hit, but I think enough of them have an opportunity and upside where it's really going to create a great team for you, especially if you can get these 2 I mean, you don't need the 3 running backs, but I've been liking it if it falls to you. I think Javonte is kind of the last cutoff for that guy. I mean, James Conner you can, but I've been falling off a little bit on him. But I still like him as like a top 15 middling running back too. But I do think at this point we can start looking at more running back depth. So I'm a huge fan of Chase Edmonds. Just, kind of, it's again, the whole thing where he's going in drafts. I think that he could be the running back 1 in Miami. And we've seen him be an absolute stud when he gets the opportunity in Arizona. And he's a great pass catching back, which is super valuable in the PPR league that we're in now. So even more reason to like him here. Getting him as depth too is awesome, where I don't need to rely on him, but I definitely am very interested and think he has a lot of things going in for him where he could hit and be super valuable. I definitely do like Zach Ertz a lot here. I would definitely take Ertz over Knox in a PPR league because I think he's going to get so many more receptions. Knox is really valuable because he's part of that Bills offense that is going to get he's not necessarily going to get a bunch of touchdowns, but he has the opportunity to get a bunch of touchdowns like he did last year. Hard to rely on that, but I think that there's Chase Edmonds is such a good value here. I'm going to take him here. Continuing on with this team that I absolutely love. Now, I'll definitely be looking at quarterbacks and tight ends at this point. We see a big quarterback run where kind of all of the guys that I really like having are all gone. Now, this probably would not happen in a real league. We can see all these people that have backups like Kyler Murray, Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady, Dak Prescott, Joe Burrow, Trey Lance. All of those different kind of things probably wouldn't happen in a real league. So I would still be able to get some of these guys, but it's not a big deal. I'm pretty in on the streaming quarterback. It's not that I'm obviously not against having these great quarterbacks. It's just the people that you can get at those positions I just like so much more. And whenever I end up drafting someone, like when I do draft the higher end quarterbacks, it's the Joe Burrow, Kyler Murray, Lamar Jackson. It's kind of that range. And I just don't like how my team turns out as much. And that's kind of the whole point of mock drafting. You figure out what you like, what you don't like, and then you can go from there. But at the same time, never be like, I try to tell all my friends that talk to me about it, don't go in with a plan of like, oh, I'm going to draft this person. Oh, I'm going to get these people. Like, let the draft fall to you. Let it happen. That's the biggest thing, is that finding value where it is, and not all the time. Like, everybody has value at some point. And so you can definitely go in like, oh, I'm probably going to go running back heavy in the beginning. Like, that's kind of my strategy this year. But if I'm late in the first round and Cooper Kupp or Justin Jefferson are still there's a high likelihood I'm going to take them. It's all about value. It's all about finding the people you like and who you think have the upside, and kind of knowing where how your team is going to look when it turns out. So that's what I think the value of watching these videos is, and doing mock drafts yourself, is that you figure out what you like. You don't want to be in a draft and have something happen to you and you just start to freak out and tilt, and then everything else from there gets screwed up. You want to be ready for whatever comes your way. I'm going to take Derek Carr. I think their offense is going to be really good this year, obviously with Davante Adams, and I just need somebody who can be serviceable for me because I think this team is super high upside, very elite, and I just need my quarterback position not to suck. So I have no problem with that, and if he doesn't do good, I can drop him and just start streaming. No worries about it. I'm also going to take my tight end here just because there's going to be a bunch more taken, and I want to get somebody who I think has a possibility of being good. I have Javonte Williams and I have Darnell Mooney, so they're both on teams of these two guys that I like. So I'm not really going to try to factor that in. I like Cole Kmet more this year than Albert. I just think there's a lot more opportunity for him to get a lot of targets, so I'm gonna take him here. But again, another person that I could be streaming, I have no problem dropping and just trying to play the matchups. That's pretty much how I feel about the quarterback and tight end position for the most part in all of these drafts. Obviously, like I talked about in the last video, if you're doing a super flex league, it's completely different. I don't really play in any of those, but I can do one if you want me to. Just let me know. I'm nowhere near as proficient about talking about the strategy as I am with these drafts, but I'll definitely give it a shot if you want me to, so let me know. So at this point at the end of the draft, we're kind of just looking for upside. Also with somebody like Derek Carr, I could be interested in taking another quarterback like a Justin Fields, Deshaun Watson, Trevor Lawrence, somebody who could really hit and be an elite quarterback for me. So I'm going to take Justin Fields here because I think that rushing upside gives him the possibility of being an elite quarterback. Now, I'm not saying he will. That's why he's going in the end of the draft, but that's the reasoning behind it. But if you get anyone else like the Trey Lance, Aaron Rodgers, Matt Stafford, I mean, Trey Lance is a little bit different because he definitely has some risk to him. You don't really need all these other guys, but someone like Derek Carr, who I think could be a very middling streaming quarterback, I like taking someone who has a little bit more upside at the end. The end of the drafts for the running backs, I really like looking at people with kind of the backup role. I talked about it in my last video too. I think I took Khalil Herbert in my last video, but that's kind of what I look at here. So if we go over to the wide receivers, we can look for some guys with upside. There's all obviously different scenarios. I have Deontay, so I'm probably not going to take Pickens. I don't like taking Gallup because he's hurt and I don't know when he's going to be playing, and it's just not something I want to deal with. Julio's interesting just because we don't really know what's going on with Chris Godwin or Russell Gage right now. So he could have a relatively big role pretty early on. I don't think I'm going to take Rondale Moore, though. I just think he's one of those people where we're going to see his role almost right away. And he's a super athletic guy. He's just so tiny. And so if we can see that he's productive the first couple weeks, then he can produce for my team. If not, I can drop him, move on, figure something else out. We're going to take him here. If you're watching my videos, you know that's what I'm really big on, kind of taking guys who you're hopefully going to be able to see their opportunity in the beginning weeks so then you can either move on or keep them. You don't want these people just clogging up roster spots. I really like Jalen Tolbert. He's kind of the same idea. There's obviously a lot of opportunity in Dallas with Michael Gallup being hurt, Amari Cooper being gone. Now I think James Washington's hurt. So Jalen Tolbert's, I think, a third round rookie who definitely has opportunity to produce. Somebody I'm really interested in there. Let's look at the running backs. Again, Khalil Herbert's there. I've also been liking Tyrion Davis-Price, just those Niner running backs always produce, but it's always hard to know. And it feels like it's somebody different every single year. So who knows? Could be him this year. I think he was a 6th round running back. Chuba Hubbard's another example of kind of the backup role that you can have with Christian McCaffrey. Kind of picking your poison. I'll go with Tyrion Davis-Price so I can have a Niner on my team, but you kind of get the idea behind it. We can go over this team right now. Let's look at it. We got Derek Carr, Dalvin Cook, DeAndre Swift, Keenan Allen, Deontay Johnson, Cole Kmet, Javonte Williams, Allen Robinson, Darnell Mooney, Gabe Davis, Elijah Moore, Chase Edmonds, Justin Field, Rondale Moore, and Tyrion Davis-Price. Yeah, I mean, this is kind of my ideal draft strategy to go with, where you get those elite running backs early on and then just hammer wide receivers from there on out and then just get guys with good upside. I definitely wish I got a better quarterback than Derek Carr, like one of the Trey Lance, Aaron Rodgers, Matthew Stafford, Dak Prescott, but can't win every battle. And you kind of got to expect that stuff going into drafts. So that's kind of how I value it. I'm never too worried about the quarterback position, and kind of just follow me whatever's going to fall to me. But I feel really good about this team. Let me know how you guys feel about it. We can also take a look at some of the other teams. I like this team relatively. Again, though, the early quarterback or the early tight end and quarterback, not a fan of, but Mike Evans, DJ Moore, Chris Godwin as your 3 wide receivers while still doing that and getting Eckler and Kamara, that's pretty filthy, honestly. If you're going to still get George Kittle and Kyler Murray, I really like that. Caffrey, Aaron Jones, Leonard Fournette, Darren Waller, Jalen Waddle, AJ Dillon, Amon-Ra. Definitely weak on the wide receivers, but pretty solid. Yeah, it's not a huge fan of the Mixon Higgins stack, but I think they were the pretty clear. Actually, no, I would have taken Keenan definitely over T. Higgins in that scenario and in a full PPR league. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not honestly a huge fan of a lot of these teams. This one, honestly, is probably my next favorite. But let me know what you guys think. Like I said, this was a request, so let me know if you guys have any other videos you want to see. Going to be dropping another mock draft at least before this weekend's. Going to start doing my rankings next week. Going to be dropping a lot more people, all my tier breakdowns, and everything involved with that. Let me know, though, if there's anything you want to see before that. So until next time, guys. Later.